The beginning of the 19th century brings New York a step closer to the megacity it will become later. In 1825, Governor DeWitt Clinton opens the navigation channel Erie, along with the train track in 1831. Slowly, once the first American bank was established by Hamilton in 1784, New York becomes the financial capital of the United States of America. At the time of the European revolutions in mid-19th century, as well as with the Great Famine in Ireland, the American land becomes the safe land for refugees to step in. Germans and Irish were the first to get there. The Irish soon get to make 25% of New York population. Until 1860, the Germans will make the equal. In 1811, Commissioner's Plan is adopted. The famous street network of Manhattan, oriented 29 degrees from the latitude line, for the sun to align with the streets at down and rise. After battling hot periods, in 1835, the biggest fires New York has ever seen, the landscape architects Alsted and Vaux won the design contest for Central Park with an initial area of 315,000 square meters. Later, in 1876, Central Park expands towards northern Manhattan. At street level, New York is a place of violence, corruption, vandalism, and frustration. In addition to the outset of the Civil War, New York, once again, is a place for violent conflicts. The street fights between the English colonists, natives, and the Irish immigrants will be the darkest and most bloody in the history of America. After the Civil War, the Irish look for aristocrats, then for the black people for almost a decade in their fights for jobs. In 1886, as a sign of friendship between the United States and France, the Europeans gave the Statue of Liberty as a gift, which represents the goddess of liberty in the vision of the sculptor Bartholdi, put it in real life by the French engineer Eiffel. The statue, made entirely of copper, is from now on everyone's gateway to the free world, the welcome greeting on American soil. Immediately the Europeans raid the promised land in search of riches. On January 1, 1898, New York unites with Brooklyn, Richmond, Staten Island, Queens, and the Bronx and reaches a population of 3.35 million inhabitants. That's when the big infrastructure projects start. With the Brooklyn Bridge already built since 1883, New York continues to open the Williamsburg Bridge in 1903. The Manhattan and Queensboro Bridges in 1909, but also the first subway lines. Also in the early years of the 20th century, the great migration of black populations from the southern states to the north and to the urban areas of the northeast and west of the United States took place. New York becomes the largest urban diaspora of the black population on the North American continent. The Harlem Renaissance takes place here, a large-scale cultural movement of African Americans in all fields: music, dance, fashion, arts, theater, politics, a current that lasts until the Great Depression. In 1920, New York reached a population of 10 million inhabitants in the metropolitan area, surpassing London, thus becoming the first megacity. After the Chicago skeleton model was successful, New York begins to change its appearance. Chrysler Building in 1930. Empire State Building and Waldorf Astoria in 1931. Radio City Music Hall in 1932. Rockefeller Center and LaGuardia Airport in 1939. After the Second World War, the veterans created an economic boom that led to the expansion of residential area with the famous American-style houses. The headquarters of the United Nations is completed in 1952, certifying the fact that New York also becomes the main pole of geopolitical influence in the world. At the same time, the world of arts and fashion is moving from Paris to New York. With the rise of another pole of power in the East, the USSR, for fear of communism infiltrating American society, government institutions develop a real paranoia in which politicians, through government agencies and other institutions, organize regular hearings to discover communists, anarchists, and other categories by people called anti-American. Homosexuals and lesbians were also put on the list of the American State Department, considering that those who indulge in sexual perversions cannot prove emotional stability like a normal person. Following a police raid in 1969 in the Stonewall Club in Greenwich Village, violent clashes took place that led to the Stonewall riots, then to the modern movement for the liberation of the homosexual community in the democratic world. The construction of Madison Square Garden is completed in 1968. In the 70s, following the massive restructuring in the industry, the unemployment rate skyrocketed, many New Yorkers losing their jobs. At the same time, the crime rate was also at alarming levels. In 1978, Ed Koch is the first elected mayor of the city. In the 80s, the financial industry rebalances the economy of New York. In 1973, the Ground Zero complex with its twin towers was completed. Once Rudolph Giuliani was elected as mayor of the New York in the mid-90s, an urban rethinking of the city takes place. On a wonderful day of September 11 in 2001, the events at the World Trade Center took place, the darkest days in the modern history of New York and the United States. After the fall of the Twin Towers, the balance is cruel. 2,600 people lose their lives. Ground Zero is completely rebuilt, a complex of 7 buildings, among them one World Trade Center, the Memorial, the September 11 Museum, the Oculus Terminal, Paramount Performing Arts, Liberty Park with the 2 fountains on the imprint of the 2 Twin Towers. In 2009, High-Line Phase 1 is completed, a project involving landscape architect James Corner, architects Scodifio and Renfro, and designer Piet Oudolf. In 2011 take place the Occupy Wall Street event that lasted for 59 days. This extreme left movement led to the worldwide movement Occupy, protesting against the social-economical inequalities, addressing corruption and corporate influence. A year after, in 2012, Hurricane Sandy left New York in dark and produced big losses and damage. Houses and office buildings burned and a big part of the city was flooded. The Wall Street was closed for 2 days, and the damage was estimated at $19 billion. After the first COVID case in March 2020, New York becomes the first global epicenter of pandemic with over 30,000 deaths due to complications to COVID.